It's me, Consistency Clarence, making another video talking about Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. Today we're going to be looking at Master Rule 4. I feel like this is like the third day in a row or some shit I'm talking about Master Rule 4. So a lot of decks obviously died with the inception of Master Rule Jeff. I'm going to be looking at some of the archetypes over the course of the game's history and talking about which ones deserve to come back in the shape of some kind of blue boy support. Who would win? A deck with years and years of legacy and countless tops and a huge following of a fan base, or one pointy boy? This is in no particular order, but speaking of no particular order, I am going to start in a very biased fashion and talk about the one that I think deserves the most support right now, and that's DDD is a deck that's probably one of the more fairer combo decks I think that we've ever had in Yu-Gi-Oh! It didn't really do that much of an insane board. It was kind of strong obviously, but not like, you know, like Goki. I can already imagine it now. One bottom left arrow, bottom right, bottom text. And the effect is pretty much the same as Flame Genghis and Alexander. Special summon one DD from your graveyard if you special summon a DD. Is that how it goes? Yeah, something like that. DD is one of my favorite decks of all time, and I would really like to see it come back into the game in some kind of iteration. A lot of people argue that it doesn't even need support and stuff, it's still okay. Yeah, I get that it still does some things with links and that even post Master Rule 4, but I think it's fair to say that the deck should probably get some kind of a boost, and I would like to see it somewhat meta again. Because like I said, I think it's one of the more fairer combo decks that we've had in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because of the first turn boards that weren't exactly the most insane things we'd ever seen. And I think with hand traps and stuff, going back and forth mirror matches could potentially be quite fun. So DDD definitely gets my vote for getting some support. The next one is Blue Eyes. I can't believe I would have ever made this in a video. Blue Eyes is so shit. There was a period in time where Blue Eyes was actually really good, and it was like basically meta for the longest time, like 2016 I want to say. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. I can't believe this deck almost won Worlds like a year ago or 2 years ago. Regardless, I think Blue Eyes is a very good contender for getting some link support. I don't really know what the effect would be. Maybe some kind of special Blue Eyes tuner, graveyard recursion. It's very easy to put two Blue Eyes monsters on the boards nowadays with alternative dragons, so I think seeing something in that kind of aspect would be really good and fun for the deck. And the next archetype I think should be Black Wings. I've never seen a deck be able to swarm the field as amazingly as Black Wings do and still do nothing. It's just, what are you making? What do you make with Black Wings? Even before Master Rule 4, what the fuck did that deck do? To be fair, there was a lot of disruption and stuff, but yeah, the deck is so good at swarming the field, there's no reason for it to get some kind of link support. I think being able to put up a link and one synchro in a turn wouldn't exactly be the most broken thing ever. Don't really know what it would do. Maybe like set a Black Whirlwind from your graveyard, set a Black Sonic from your deck, add 3 Kalut to hand. Nothing particularly broken, just enough to make it contend. Probably still would suck, wouldn't it? I really like Black Wings. It was one of my first ever competitive decks, and I would love to see it be somewhat meta relevant again. I think the new synchro, like the towersy kind of thing, is like really busted and stuff, but I really hate that kind of sort of general direction that the game design takes sometimes, where it's like, oh, how do we make decks good again? Oh, let's give them a big fucking giant towers masterpiece like monster. That's not fun. I don't enjoy summoning those kind of monsters. I mean, you'll probably have a different idea, but yeah, I think some kind of link support would be really cool for the deck. And the next one is going to be Yang Zing's Wu-Tang Dragons.
Tang, nigga, that's what's up, one.
I really like Yang Zing's. I played this for the longest time in like, I want to say late 2014. And obviously Master Rule 4 severely crippled the deck's ability to make multiple synchros. Need I mention, of course, Denglong being banned. I legitimately cannot think of anything more frustrating than your favorite deck having one of its most important cards banned because of some other deck abusing it. Like, why the hell are Yang Zings getting hit? Because dinos take that fucking card and make it broken. That's so unfair. That's like getting someone else's parking ticket. Now, Bashia was a very good boss monster back in the day. Yes, I did say Bashia. You know in Chinese the X is actually a Z or a sh sound? If anyone speaks Chinese, please correct me. So I'm gonna call it Bashia just to trigger you all. Bashia plus... I can't even say it with a straight face. Jiaotu into Baxia plus Herald was legitimately like an actual first turn combo that you did back in the day with Zephrani. So I think having some kind of follow-up play nowadays would be really fun instead of just basically going set Swanee, set some floodgates and traps, pass. The next deck is Odd Eyes. Odd Eyes is a deck that has very odd eyes. I don't know why I said that, I just really wanted to say that. I think that having some kind of pendulum support for links would be very important. We already have Electromite and that card's busted. Stick to the game plan. Stick to the game plan. Yeah, I get it. Okay, Electromite's a good card. But let's be real, that card could potentially get hit. And weirdly enough, this big if true, by the way, destroying your own scales isn't always a plus in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's madness. Yeah, weird. Not every deck floats. Surprisingly, popping your own cards isn't always the greatest idea in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck. So some kind of Odd Eyes Link I think would be very good for taking the pendulum in a somewhat of a meta direction, and I think a Link, I don't really know what it would do, like something to do with Sky Iris perhaps, maybe tutors like an Odd Eyes from deck to hand, something simple like that. I think most of all, I just really want Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon. Please, Konami, can you release Odd Eyes Revolution Dragon? Oh, and Patchwork. Don't forget Patchwork. Thank you. Speaking of Patchwork, the next deck is Fluffle. Fluffles are very good at swarming multiple fusions onto the field. Some of the combos I've seen Fluffle do back when like Fusion Sub was a thing in pre-Master Rule 4, absolutely crazy. Just a little bit, you know, kind of doesn't really do anything against D-Barrier. Floodgates. So Fluffle could be a very good contender for getting some Link support in my opinion. Again, I'm just kind of throwing some ideas out there. I don't really know specifically what the effects could do, but I think something to do with, you know, having the material come back or adding back the poly that you just used. Something to that effect could be very good for the deck. Maybe it could be like a contact Link fusion almost. Purple-blue cards. You know, Konami, if you're trying to hire anyone for card design, just let your boy know. Next, we have Ojamas. With the new support, Ojamas are able to flood the field and recur some of their vanillas from their deck very easily, with Pajama discarding magic very easily, setting up for a red into the rest of the boys' play. And I think being able to make some kind of like Link 3, Link 4 Ojama monster would be really cool. Maybe it'd be following the same sort of theme as blocking zones. I don't really know how I feel about that kind of floodgatey style of play, but it could be an option. It needs something to do with the field spell. Field spell's just the weirdest thing in the game ever. Reverse the attack and defense. You know how many games I've lost to that field spell? When I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! With my friend, he used to play Ojamas, I would just forget country every time, and I'd just be sitting there hitting these monsters thinking they had 0 defense, and it's just, no, I'm just killing myself. I'm really good at Yu-Gi-Oh! The next deck is Red Eyes, and I think that Red Eyes is a good contender because of the fact, well, pretty much every Red Eyes card sucks, so I did do a table 500 on Red Eyes a while ago, and I do recommend you search that up on my channel, and you can see exactly the power of that deck, even without some kind of Link monster. You basically make like multiple flare metals and stuff. Firewall, of course, contributing to most of the shenanigans. But the point is like the deck does do a lot of cool things and stuff, even currently. Again, the effect, it's really confusing. I feel like Red Eyes as an archetype has a bit of an identity crisis with Konami. They're not really sure if it's this like gear-free type of deck, or where it's like relying on equipped, but it's not because you have to fuse, but then you're also just summoning Red Eyes, the vanilla. It's like they don't really know what they're trying to do with the deck. They just haven't established a win condition. I think that's what probably the most important thing about giving Red Eyes a Link monster is that they would actually decide, hey, okay, this is what the deck does. It has a win condition, make this Link monster, and it does X effect. Something like that to be able to give the deck some direction and purpose would be really, really good. And the next one is Raid Raptors. I don't really have anything to say about this. This was just suggested to me in my Discord. Which I guess I'll just use this space to advertise and say, yeah, make sure you join the Discord channel. We have a really, really fun community that's not toxic at all, and you'll have lots of fun and be really welcomed, and everyone will be nice to you. For real, I do know that Raid Raptors are basically a somewhat swarmy spam deck, and I think that having some more Link zones would open up the deck's ability to rank up into all these really powerful boss monsters that they have, and they can spit out basically every single turn. The deck has some consistency issues, so something to do with recruitment and stuff like that would be probably very good for the deck as well. But yeah, the deck does put a lot of monsters on the field, and it does want to access its extra deck quite often, so having extra Link zones relevant to the Raid Raptor archetype I think would be very, very powerful for the deck. And for number 9, we have Frogs. You do realize we already have a Frog, like Link basically, right? It's a Star Boy, I get it. It's basically a Frog Link monster, alright? It's good, it's a strong card. But I don't know, maybe if they tried something a little bit different, like a Link monster for Frogs that, you know, maybe had some disruption on your opponent's turn, could float, maybe it could like tutor a frog from your deck. You just described totally awesome. Maybe it can add a 2400 attack monster with 1000 defense from the deck to your hand. See where I'm going with this? Make Frog Monarchs great again.
Link shenanigans definitely add up.
And finally, of course, the most important one is Burning Abyss. Weirdly enough, a channel like Farfa suggesting that Burning Abyss needs some Link support. Who would have saw that coming? Maybe some kind of effect where it has, you know, bottom left and bottom right arrow, something to do with Fiendish Rhino. Maybe it protects your Burning Abyss from being destroyed. Obviously, it would be a Burning Abyss name, and it can send the Burning Abyss monster from your deck to the graveyard to trigger your Burning Abysses from your deck. It wouldn't really have a lot of attack or anything because that's like really strong, but something along those lines. Just give me Cherubini! Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my suggestions. If you have any other contributions to make, let me know in the comments down below and tell me which monsters and archetypes that you would like to see link support for. Please follow me on twitch.tv/FarfaYGO, join the Discord community at discord.gg/Farfa, check out my Patreon if you want to support me making more videos, subscribe, comment, like, and peace.